Hello, welcome. Today was Tuesday. We had game 3 of the NBA Finals yesterday. It was another back and forth game, and we are back in baseball here on the off day. What a day it is today, June 9th. It is Tuesday. We got some great action today in baseball. Just a quick go over of Sunday's picks. Did go 1 for 3. Chase Maedroth was able to get a hit and also score a run. Aaron Nola just missed on the strikeout prop. He simply did not make it 5 innings, and that's one of the things. When you have about a strikeout per inning or 9 strikeouts per 9, you kind of got to make it 5 innings. He just fell short of 5 innings, gave up 5 earned runs. Jeremy Pena was not able to get in the hit column. Not a good game on Sunday in Houston for the Astros. I'm experimenting with new ways to format the standings. This is from MLB's mobile app. This is a little diagonal format. Just wanted to experiment with it. Seattle still has a strong lead on the American League West, but look right behind them. Texas Rangers are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They are approaching 500. A lot of good things to see with Texas. We got to see how they continue to do here, if they're able to stay with that. But oftentimes in June and July in baseball, you start to see teams who had slow starts start to wake up. Now, we've seen that with the Philadelphia Phillies already. We might see that with the Texas Rangers. Now, do I think they're going to be that far above 500? No. But in the American League, you don't have to. You see these standings. A big, top-heavy National League and not so much great teams in the American League. There's a lot of teams around 500. The Rangers look like they will stay in contention as long as the American League does not run away with their records. Tampa Bay and New York are now tied. Tampa Bay has not been playing well over the last couple weeks. New York Yankees have been playing relatively well. So you can see we do got a tie atop the American League East, with not much better from our defending American League champions, the Toronto Blue Jays, who, heck, they were 2 outs away from winning the World Series. They are not having a great season right now. And you can see Cleveland continuing to hold on to the lead, but the White Sox are collapsing the gap. They have gained a couple games over the past week. They are 1.5 behind the Cleveland Guardians, and not much else in the American League standings. So again, big thing in the American League standings here is that in the wild card race, there's only 2 teams above 500. So the Texas Rangers and actually the Toronto Blue Jays are hanging it for the 3rd spot. So you can see the Toronto Blue Jays are only 1 game below the Texas Rangers. And that's crazy to think. In Oakland and the Athletics, not Oakland, but just the Athletics, they're out of Oakland now. They are just a half a game behind Toronto. And you can see even Minnesota's not that far off. Neither is Baltimore. So a lot of relatively mediocre teams could get on a hot streak and have a pretty good chance. And we're seeing that with the Rangers right now. So let's see who can get away with this thing, who can get a solid spot in that 3rd wild card. But for sure, between Tampa and New York and also the White Sox, well in position for that 1st and 2nd spot. Go to the National League. You can see the National League West. The Dodgers are running away with it. The Padres and D-backs are not playing well. And you can see San Fran, Colorado way off in there. No, not even contenders for the wild card. They might as well write off the rest of the 4 months, sell at the trade deadline, and wait till next year. But if you're Arizona and San Diego, they need to right the ship because they're feeling a lot of pressure from other teams here in this National League standings. You can see Washington is 1 game behind both of them. But you can also look at the Central standings. You see there's also Pittsburgh and Chicago a half a game behind. But in command of the wild card right now is the Philadelphia Phillies at 36-30. And then right behind them, a game and a half behind them, is the St. Louis Cardinals. That is at 35-28. If you do not know how to calculate games behind in your head, you want to look at the difference between the leaders win column and the leaders loss column, and you want to average those numbers. So you can see Philadelphia has 36 wins, St. Louis has 35 wins. That's 1 win right there. Then you can see that St. Louis has 28 losses and Philadelphia has 30 losses. So actually, if you look, this is actually one of the weirder ones. Now that I look at it, St. Louis is actually a half a game above. So you can see one more win for Philly, but 2 less losses for the Cardinals. So if you average that out, that goes a half a game in St. Louis's favor. So St. Louis is leading the wild card. Now they got less games, so we got to see how they do. But that's what we see in our standings. Obviously, Milwaukee's taking command in the Central. You know, they actually have the lowest margin between first and second in the division. That are only 5.5 games out. That the Cardinals, that is. You can see Philadelphia 9 games behind Atlanta. Arizona, San Diego 7.5 behind the Dodgers. But it is the Diamondbacks and the Padres, at least for the moment, sharing that third wild card spot in the National League. Let's go to our picks for today. Enough of the standings. Yes, you can always skip through the picks if you're not quite interested in the standings and just wanting to see our picks, and vice versa. We got Julio Rodriguez getting a hit today. Paul Skeens, 6.5 strikeouts. He's on the hill against the Dodgers. And we got Brian Reynolds over a hit, run, and RBI combined in today's game, over 1.5 or 2 or more. Let's go to the charts. Julio Rodriguez bound to get a hit today. He has done that in 6 out of 10 and 14 out of 20. Now you can see, actually I accidentally put both of those charts in twice. I was meaning to put in that he has hit in 69% of games this season. He's done pretty well against Baltimore. This is actually much of what he has done against the Baltimore Orioles and against their starter, Tyler Rogers. He has hit 2 for 6 against Rogers, and he also has a very solid average against left-handed pitching. You can see he is better against left-handed pitching than he is against right-handed pitching. He's hitting .256 overall in the season, but against left-handed pitching, he is hitting .290. He also has a significantly higher hard hit rate against left-handed pitching as well. So expect some good looks for Julio Rodriguez today against the left-handed pitcher. And you can see in his career against Baltimore, he is a solid hitter. He's hitting .288. That is in home and away games. He's had plenty of looks against the Orioles. Even when the Orioles had better teams, he was hitting well against Baltimore. So expect more of the same here today. Let's get on to Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens, 6.5 strikeouts. You can see plenty of a solid recent trend. You can even see in the 10-game chart, he's done in 7 out of 8. So you can see 2 red bars on the left-hand side of that 10-game chart. He's done that in 7 out of 8 games. He has done that in 12 out of 20. So you can see that he did have a streak in the beginning of the season where he was not striking out very well. I mean, it was a bit of a rough start. You can see that 1 strikeout. That was opening day. That was because he gave up 5 earned runs, and the official scorer was not going to rule in his favor that there was an error on the center fielder when I believe they should have. But conversation for another day. The bars to the left of that one, that is the end of last season. He's pitched 2 games against the Dodgers in his career. The Dodgers, obviously the 2-time defending World Series champions. He has struck out more than 6.5 batters in each of those games. That's what we see on the right. You can also see that he is pitching at home against the Dodgers today, where he does have a significantly better ERA, and he also strikes out more batters. You can see the difference between the home and the road games. It's pretty significant. 2.5 ERA in 7 starts, in 6 starts, 3.26. But almost striking out double the amount of people and only 1 more start at home. So he has really been on point in his home games, really feeding off that Pittsburgh crowd. And heck, they're a contender. That's one thing that's really feeding into him. You can also see that he has great strikeout rates and walks per 9. He is in the top 7% in all 3 of those categories. Ks per 9, K percentage, and also the walks per 9. So he's commanding the plate very well, and that's exactly what he needs to do here against the Dodgers. We also got his teammate Brian Reynolds. He's going to be hitting against Dodgers pitching. Dodgers pitching is, it's been on and off this season. They're definitely hitting the ball very well. But Brian Reynolds has gotten over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI in 7 of the last 10 and 13 out of 20. He's hitting the ball very, very well. You can see on the left-hand side of the head-to-head chart there on the right, he did not have many great games against the Dodgers in 2025, but the last 2 of them, last September, he was hitting the ball. Multi-hit game, multi-run game. He has actually been a solid contributor in that respect. Now the starter today is Eric Lauer. He is a left-handed pitcher. He's not doing great this season, But one of the things about Eric Lauer that works in the favor of Brian Reynolds is the fact that he is a very fastball heavy pitcher. You can see the distribution on that chart there and the amount of pitch, the percentage of time that he throws every single pitch. You can see such a fastball heavy pitcher who tries to work in a changeup every now and then and a curveball. Now a cutter is a different kind of fastball, so keep that in mind. That's his second pitch right there. If you look at the stats right there, his K percentage against the fastball is lower than his overall stats. That's what the green means. So you can see that 19.3 K rate, that's lower than his overall stats. And same thing with his weighted on-base average. That's a more complex formula, but also a pretty solid indicator of a hitter's performance in that respect. Also very good against the fastball. So very solid against fastball-heavy pitchers. And we're also looking at his overall stats against left-handed pitching, far superior to that of right-handed pitching. He's hitting .307 against left-handed pitching. You can see .263 average overall right there in 2026. And you can see in some of the advanced stats as well, definitely doing it. And you can even look at his RBI right there. He's driven in half of the runs that he's driven in against left-handed pitching. And if you look at the at-bats, he hasn't even had 1/3 of his at-bats against left-handed pitching. So in that kind of proportion, he's driving in runs epically against left-handed pitching. Let's expect more of the same today against Eric Lauer and the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is it for today. Quick reminder for our new viewers, we are affiliated with Betr. You can sign up with our code ROCKETUPSB and your first 2 picks will be sweat free. That means you put up to $100 in it and the pick loses, then you get $100 back that you can put on Betr. Now you can't withdraw the money until you win a pick, but that is that.